11,420 pounds, the Cougar 366 RDS here at Haylett RV of Coldwater, Michigan. And 11.4 on the weight sticker, man. That's not bad considering the length and the 4 slides in this RV. And that's what's kind of cool about Cougars. Their ability to identify everything that matters and nothing that doesn't, and doing everything that matters and nothing that doesn't, keeps them far more affordable than the other 2/3 of the mid-profile fifth wheel business, while not leaving out anything important. For instance, the way that we have this one built today, we still have king bed. We are 0 to 100 degree rated, auto leveling, dual air conditioners, more ride steps, and a partridge in a pear tree. Really, what's impressive is the only thing they left out is the nonsense. And this is another of the reasons that I prefer a kitchen without an island as, you know, compared to something with an island, because look at the travel access that we maintain. You want to get in, you want to sit down at that dinette, you want to get in this giant 4-door fridge, you want to get to, you know, a ton of your kitchen storage space in transit without the slides open. You can do that. So this is a big living room for a great destination sort of experience, but the fact is, you can also enjoy yourself on the way there. And that is one of the big differences, I think, in this floor plan versus so many of those opposing slide, island kitchen, everybody builds the same thing kind of models. And then, when the traveling's done, and you get there, you are going to love being there. This is one of the most, it's a made-up word, but livable coaches in you reach your destination that I think you could run into. And what I like about it is how it has the definition of rooms. It's not a open kitchen living shared room. There's a defined living room back here. You know, you've got the place where the TV and all the seats are, and this is the conversation hangout space, watch Dancing with the Stars or whatever your preferred, you know, TV poison is. And then you see it kind of starts with this cool little accent sort of pseudo barn beam thing right here, and that virtual kitchen wall. And you're clearly in the kitchen. Like, you can see that there's a difference in here. So we'll come back to the kitchen in a few minutes, though I do want to take a second to point out all the windows in this thing, and all those windows will open for airflow. But what's also cool is they're giving you a little bit nicer blinds in these Cougars. You get an actual wood slat blind, and what I like about that compared to a pleated shade is you can clean those things. They're a little more rugged, they're a little longer lasting effectively, but that's a very underappreciated facet of these Cougar RVs. So first of all, back here in the living room, we are just absolutely swarmed with windows in this thing, and you can see how the TV drops down against that rear wall to give you even more window space when you do want it. And like I said before, sorry to sound like a broken record, but I think it's a big deal to point out that every single one of these windows opens for airflow. So you have opposing breeze windows on both sides of either of those hide-a-bed sleeper sofas. You have opposing breeze windows on both sides of either side of this theater seat right here. It's just, not to mention the fact that when you're sitting anywhere remotely close to the living room, you can see out everywhere around your campsite. And since this is not one of the elevated sort of rear living rooms or front living rooms even, because this is really the same floor plan as a front living room fifth wheel, just flipped around backwards, which gives us a much nicer pass-through storage compartment, by the way. You have the ability to have taller slides, so they won't be head knockers. Those are 6.5 foot tall slides. But also they can be deeper without running into a weight issue. So it's a full 3 foot deep slide instead of a 2 foot or 1.5 foot common opposing slide hide-a-bed. And what that means is way more room back here if one or both of these are open. For instance, do you notice how you can still open that theater seat right there even if the hide-a-bed is in place? And the fact is, this other theater seat right here, you could actually still open and recline. So if you've got guests back here, whether it's adults, grandkids, whatever, and they're utilizing the bonus sleeping space, which some people look at this floor plan as an alternative to a bunkhouse. Like, if your kids are 14 and 17, I don't know that you should get a bunkhouse because they're going to be leaving the house soon. You should look at something like this because it gives them big beds that they can make themselves and it gives you the greater living space once the kiddos do leave the nest and spread their own wings, figuratively speaking. But also, like I said, you can still walk through here, you can still get to everything, you don't lose out really on anything if the rear area is being used for sleeping purposes. And because these sleepers are all the way on the opposite end from the master bedroom, no one really disturbs one another either. But there's also an above average chance that this is pretty much what it's going to look like for you. That huge 4K Ultra HD TV is on a 12 volt power lift. You can see that big 5120 BTU electric space heater we call a fireplace down below. That does have its own remote control. You can use that for heatless LED visuals only also. And look on both sides of the entertainment center. You have household and USB plugs both sides. So the last big family camping trip I went on, the biggest problem we had is that we realized how tech addicted we were, and we had way too many things that required USB plugs for charging. So we had to we were juggling plugs like, hey, are you at 60%? Can I use that? I'm at 17%. And, we had to kind of really budget our plug allowances. Well, this floor plan doesn't have that issue. If you're tech addicted, welcome home. You're going to fit in just well here. Also, look at this. No carpet down here. Isn't that cool? More and more brands are trying to figure out ways to do that. I think what they're doing is they're testing it a little bit here until they might work on doing some more expansions of that concept. The only trick with being carpetless in a slide like that is you might have noticed how there's a tiny mini step up. It's not a truly floor flush slide, although technically none of them really are. Now, this is a dual, full reclining sort of cinema seat right here, but it's also a wall hugger. So I've got that thing fully laid back, and I didn't have to slide it. You don't have to move it. And I do like the little remote control storage armrest in the middle of that too. Now, we've looked at it kind of from the other direction, but the fact is, this kitchen has a monstrous level of storage in it. And something I realized I should have talked about a little sooner is if you look up above the kitchen, you see that you do have one of the nicer big vent fans up here. So if you are cooking up a storm, it's directly above your heat zones to exhaust a lot of that heat. Now, it throws a lot of people off that this is a non-slide kitchen, but if you really start looking, guys, you realize that you are getting more storage in here and you have more countertop prep space than a slide-out island kitchen can offer. Slides are tricky like that. Slides give you the perception of space, but they also eliminate the ability to put cabinets on a wall because the wall has to move. And this, like this huge double door pantry, did you notice that motion sense light kick on there? We've got accent lights above. Now, this is what I was saying about countertop space. You have so much more wraparound L-shaped counter space here than most island kitchens can really offer, and it's more functional. It's all in one spot. You don't have to have a little here, a little there. You can have big stuff spread out all over the place. Coffee makers, griddles, toasters, blenders, etc. Stainless steel sink undermounted below that high-rise sprayer faucet there, and a flush mount stovetop also adding to the mix. And they didn't waste an opportunity to give you as much storage as really possible in here. And of course, this is when the camera decides to be a jerk. There we go. So drawers to the floor, space all the way under that. Sinks, everything down here. I mean, this is just absolutely chock full of storage. Now, we also have the benefit of a 4-door gas electric refrigerator freezer. So that's over 12 cubic foot of storage space. What's really cool about this, guys, is that it's very traveling friendly with the propane module. Additionally, it has an auto changeover feature that an electric fridge cannot match. If you are seasonal, or if you're just at a campground overnight, or you're gone for the day, and you lose power, it'll just go, hey, no sweat, I got you, fam. I'm going to kick over to propane mode, and I'm going to make sure that your meat doesn't spoil and that your milk isn't rotten and your eggs don't start sweating. They have you under control here. Now, a couple neat little things, like you see this beautiful freestanding table and chairs that we've optioned into this one, but also you have these LED accent panels within the slide fascia themselves. And this is an easy thing to overlook, but it's very cool for nighttime navigation. During the day, you don't really appreciate it, but at night, it's fantastic. And also, contributing to what I call stealth mode lighting, up above the slide, you have dimmer lights First time I ever saw these was in a Jayco Eagle. I'm finding them more and more, and I think it's great. I think it's an absolutely awesome feature that more and more brands should jump into, because it's more than just the fact that you can dim the lights. It's the fact that you can bring the lights down to your level of comfort depending on the time of day. You ever have a migraine and just need to turn the lights off? It's nice to be able to dim that stuff down but still see what you're doing. From here we can mosey our way upstairs, and as we do, we're going to pass a couple things. You saw the motion lighting in the cabinet. You'll see more in the pass-through. There's also a little, hey, welcome home, dude, kind of light down here. I think that's actually the technical name for it. It's the welcome home dude light. Funny. I know, it's weird. Anyway, but it's nice that it's on when you need it, whether you're going up and down the stairs or coming in through the door. It's there when you need it, gone when you don't. As we come up here, we are greeted with our in-command system. And this is absolutely awesome. As the little picture here indicates, anything you can do off this panel, you can do off your phone. Generally, I just punch in 4 zeros as a default code, but you can see here, you can run, your slides, you can run your awnings, you can run your lights. But what's really neat here is you can run your heating and cooling system right off this thing as well. So if you're sitting in that chair and the sun's just cooking you, you can grab your phone and crank up the AC. If you're in bed and you're cold, you can grab your phone and you can crank up the heat or whatever, And that's what these little guys are. This is a thermal probe so that there's multiple zones being detected, and it can keep track of the temperatures in different zones in real time. It's pretty darn cool. And anything you can do on this, you can do off your phone. You want to turn on the water heater, water pump, whatever. You don't have to go traipse around the camper to do it. It's only as far away as your phone is. But there's also this panel here, and there's still a override method in the pass-through storage that we'll take a look at later. Now, as we come up here into the bathroom area, a little change last year. This had that little pivot door, which I didn't dislike, but you can see now that we have a full sliding door right here, which I think is something a lot of people are going to appreciate because it just helps it get out of the way, Also, hanging towel rod. You might have noticed that porcelain foot flush stool. Good linen space in here, and a recent changeover to a clear glass shower. And while that doesn't specifically do anything, it does make the bathroom look and feel much larger. You see the seat in that shower for, personal bathing, safety, comfort, large medicine cabinet in here. And that, in the kitchen, we have solid surface countertops. Right here, we have what's called a pressed membrane counter, so that if you do splash water around that oversized sink, it's not going to damage the countertop. It's no big deal. It's just not a big deal. So another cool thing here is you see the thickness of these interior walls. That's just kind of Keystone 101. They fully stud out virtually every doorway, not just at Cougar or Montana, but almost all of Keystone RV. And it keeps the doorways square. And I think a lot of the interior structural integrity of the RV, they're not depending on just the exterior shell of the RV to hold its shape and structure. They're providing interior support as well. Now, as we come up here into the bedroom, you notice that these lights are not on. What's kind of cool is, even though in command you can operate all of these lights by zone from the phone. So if you want to, you can turn your bedroom lights on or off just from your phone, but they still give you a switch up here in the bedroom. Now, 2 key upgrades we're looking at right now. We have got the second air conditioner shown in this video. That's an optional piece of equipment we like to add to pretty much anything that has a bedroom slide here at Haylett RV, especially in a fifth wheel. And what's cool about that is it's also ducted into the centralized system. If you try to add a second air aftermarket, because this is always second air ready, it's usually a drop-in AC. Most aftermarket air installs will not tie into the central ducting. Also, we have applied the 70 by 80 king bed upgrade here, as opposed to a 60 by 80 queen. So it just gives you more space to stretch out, rest, relax. We've got the headboard mounted, side breeze airflow outlets here, or airflow windows, and then we have outlets here. There we go. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's not easy doing all this talking while looking and walking around, guys, I swear. Anyway, so household and USB outlets. And then something that's easy to miss is we also have right over there household and USB outlets, so that it doesn't matter what side of the bed you sleep on. We're phone charger, CPAP friendly. We're also very friendly to folks who do want to spend extended time in here with something like a washer dryer combo install. Now, I have made no secret about the fact that personally, I am not a big fan of the RV washers and dryers you find used in this business because they are very expensive, and generally speaking, they don't seem to work very well. But the fact is, I know it's a feature that a lot of people are looking for. So every now and then, guys, it's not about what I like. It's about what you're seeking, and I need to be a professional, and I need to tell you what it is and the benefits of it. So if you are looking for something that, you're like, listen, I am not going to use a public laundry service. Fuzzy bugs, gross. No thank you. I don't need to see a weird person over there licking their shoe waiting for the dryer to finish. Well, you don't have to. You could throw a combo washer dryer in there, and you could not have to deal with it. Or, frankly, you could just have a huge bonus storage dresser, which is how most folks are going to use it. A lot of brands I've noticed have started to peel their bedroom TVs out. Cougar has remained true to the fact that they are giving you full entertainment throughout the entire RV. And I think along with like the King Bed Master Suite that we've applied here, the one kind of goes with the other, and I love that big window. And what's nice, if you look at the top of it, you might spy just the bottom of more of those wood slat blinds sticking out. They treat every room and every treatment in their RVs the same. They don't scale up or down just because you enter one room or leave another. We're going to talk about it more later, but one of the most obvious things here is the skin change from the previous generation of Cougars. That kind of like white and sort of, I don't know, I'm going to call it grayish, like champagne platinum sort of accent along with that black accent that they have going on there. It's got a very striking modern look to it. And the fact that they use those raised letters on the nose cap, that's one of the reasons this thing has like, it looks like it's sort of, well, maybe it was by intent, but it sort of looks like a cougar's eyes peeking out from between the weeds as you're being stalked. So maybe that's what they were going for, but the fact is it's got that awesome three-dimensional look. It looks like it's moving when it's sitting still, kind of, Keystone is so massive. They do more laminated RVs than any other manufacturer, and so much so they bought an entire diesel pusher paint plant several years ago just to paint their nose caps. They have, instead, not just whole RVs, but just nose caps is all they run through there, and it's a full-time shop. It's pretty impressive. You will find, compared to previous generations, they've also done a few things to help the ride and handling of this. We'll talk about the Road Armor suspension package in a little bit, but we've got a matching pin box up front here, which helps kind of soak the bucking and chucking as you go down the road if you have to hit the brakes for any reason. You might also notice that blue shield sticker on the front indicating Keystone's 3-year structural warranty. Those 3-year structural warranties are like a dime a dozen nowadays. But the thing is, they're not all identical. They are not interchangeable. Keystone's is the single most comprehensive of its kind out there, covering more things, inclusive of the paint on their nose cap. Because they paint their caps in-house, they can guarantee the quality of their own work instead of having to point fingers toward a potential third-party supplier. So if you're looking for a little more confidence and peace of mind, maybe Keystone, being the single most successful producer of fifth wheels on planet Earth, might be one of those brands you want to put on your radar, So I mentioned at the very beginning, but I'll circle back here. We have applied the full auto leveling packages, I can't even speak all of a sudden, to this one, to make setting up and breaking down camp simple and easy. Over here inside of our, driver's side baggage compartment, you have your fully enclosed docking station. It's all pretty rank and file stuff other than the key TV system you see on the right. So there's no more signal antenna booster needed. Keystone spent money designing a better, basically, cable routing system. You've also got a battery disconnect there. And I love the sort of little tool chest, little storage they have in that area. I think that's just a smart addition. Now, I'm not really aware of a single fifth wheel brand at this stage in the industry that's not making some kind of like, you're gonna go Arctic camping kind of promise or whatever. Not all of them are cracked up, or what they're cracked up to be. I think that there's plenty of them that are fine, but I know for a fact Cougars are absolutely capable of living up to their promises. These have been 0 to 100 degree rated for several years, but the last 2 seasons, they've actually not just lived off their laurels, but they have improved their heating and cooling package. Now we've got things like 12-volt tank heaters. That lighter skin will keep heat out of the RV. They did some things on the roof that we'll talk about last year to help keep the sun out of there. It's just really impressive how they continue to evolve and improve and move forward. Now you can see how these slides are extra deep, and that's the thing. A lot of brands who build a floor plan like this, they'll start to do like 2-foot slides. Cougar stayed with full 3-foot deep slides to give you that maximum big living space we saw inside. And again, all of our windows open for airflow. That heavy tint keeps the sun out of the camper, kind of like the white skin. And another thing that is easy to miss here is what they're doing on their slide side. So you got this textured skin to grab these seals, and if I can, let's see, oh there we go, I can get under it, bring my finger up. There's yet another wiper seal on the inside of that. Now past that is 2 things, or are 2 things as it were. There's a rain gutter channel, basically, so as the slide's wiping in and out, any water that happens to be on the slide wall that does get past the wiper seals gets channeled down and dribbles out of the RV and not into the sidewalls. And 2, there's an interior bulb seal inside of that, just like there's a bulb seal right here. So anytime the slide's all the way open or closed, there's at least 3 seals in contact with it. That is going a little bit further than most brands. Now, notice how this seal is lighter in color on the surface, on the area that touches the surface of the fiberglass. That's to keep the sun from baking the part of the seal that touches this and causing that ugly black foam yuck line from building up here. They have to scrub the crap out of to get off. You don't have that here. Now, under this screw trim, there is an inversion groove. You can feel it with your fingernail. Why is that there? Well, water can't go up without help. So, when they put that little inversion groove there, what it does is any water that wicks down the sidewalls or, in just a common rain situation, it beads up and it drips down instead of walking its way into your subflooring in the bottom of the slide outs. That's why a lot of those old Fleetwood fifth wheels that you still see on the market today in the used market, they almost always have flooring issues because they didn't do the extra things that Cougar's doing here. Another thing Cougar's doing, and I don't know that they're the only ones doing it, I know they're one of the only ones talking about it, is they're not just a walkable roof. I think any fifth wheel has that pretty much, but they're a walkable slide box. So you can literally walk right on that slide box, clean the thing off if need be. Also, I love the little details down here. There's a bunch of details super, super easy to miss here. So we've got a 2-inch receiver on the back, perfect for things like bike racks. But we also have a sewer hose caddy down here to keep your sewer stuff away from your freshwater stuff. And that's something that you could have added aftermarket, no big deal. But how cool is it that the people at Keystone that build these actually understand RV owners and RV use, and they build this thing to accommodate that? And it's just those extra little things. It's not big, it's not expensive, it's the detail of it though. Also, you have backup safety lighting on most of your Keystone fifth wheels. Now, I know that our Cougars and our Montanas do, so that when you shift into reverse, you have some extreme white, bright lights that kick on behind you, so that if you choose to utilize that backup camera prep up top, or if there's just a person in the parking lot near you or behind you or whatever, and they were getting ready to drive behind you, they can be like, oh crap, that guy's getting ready to back up. And the thing is, that person won't even think twice about it, because that's normal. That's what we are accustomed to seeing on vehicles. But the fact is, very few RVs, really just Keystones and Jaycos from what I've seen at this point, have any sort of reverse travel lighting. And yet another thing I like about not having a door side kitchen slide, and this is just my personal opinion, is that it doesn't eat up your patio space. So you've got a living room slide over here, but it's way in the back of this long trailer. So instead, what you have is this big, wide open, unobstructed, big power awning patio space right here. The door's right in the middle of it. If it's a rainy day or whatever, no big deal. Plenty of room still for your picnic tables and everything. You've got that wider and taller entry door. That's something that we don't talk about a lot in this business. You hear about 30-inch wide doors, but rarely do you hear about 6.5-foot tall residential height doors. And that's something that Montanas do, but yet you see it mirrored here in, I guess you call it the little brother, the Cougar series, and that's an excellent feature to have in what's called a mid-profile fifth wheel. Now we've got our pretty aluminum wheels, but a lot of RVs have that. What I want to point out instead is what's kind of helping hold all this together, and that is the Road Armor suspension package right here. This is a alternative, or you could say competitor, to the MoreRide system. I like both of them. I think that any suspension upgrade is better than no suspension upgrade. What's cool about Road Armor is how they have rubber shock dampeners both above and below the joint, so that it helps really control and frankly eliminate a lot of that road chatter. And the 4-plank MORryde, step above, entry step here, those adjustable foot pegs, marrying up to just about any campsite you could ever have, so that it's simple and easy to come in. And what I like about these is there's less height between steps. So if you have, say, like some knee surgery or something like that, or hip work, and you need to go up and down slow or backwards, these are just simpler, easier, safer, and this is the wider version of it, so it's easier to get in and out of those. Now over here we've got this very impressive pass-through storage compartment. It's not a drop frame, but it's pretty close to that size. You can see how we've got the double slam latches, double magnet holdbacks to keep that thing, safe and sturdy the way it's supposed to be. And like I said, we have all sorts of space in here, and it's unobstructed. There's no pipes running through it or anything like that. Not that it's really too big of a deal, it's just that I think people prefer to not have them there because it looks nice and clean. I don't know if you noticed that motion light kick on as we moved around. They got motion lighting inside and outside, or you can just leave it hard on or hard off. On the left, we have our TV hookups. Up here is where we have our controls for our 12-volt heated holding tank. So if it's just going to be screaming cold and you're like, oh boy, I don't know if we're going to make it through the night, that will do wonders for you right there. And this is the brains of the in-command system right here. Couple things it does for us. We talked about in-command a little bit inside, but one of the things I like about it out here is you see this thing, it says motor 1 through 5 in that selector switch. You still have a manual override switch for slides, awnings, etc. You can still manually control your, well, I guess, have a physical switch control your motors versus a manual switch, but you can still manually override any of those things as well. Also, Keystone was the first and still is one of the only ones in the towable RV market that color codes all their wires for just vastly easier, troubleshooting and things like that. So we've got the lighter skin on the side helping keep the weight down and whatnot, but what's cool is they didn't stop there. They really completed that lighter skin, cooler interior due to less heat from the outside sort of thing with a new lighter roof liner on this as well. Because as opposed to those tan skin roofs like you see over there, even though they're a nice light tan, they're going to absorb more solar radiation, meaning more heat from the sun. Well, last year when Cougar improved their heating and cooling package, they did a lot to help dissipate a great deal of that. Things like the little roof attic vents that we're looking at right here. That's what those things are, to exhaust heat trapped inside the roof construction. But they didn't quit. They said, we're going to lighten up that skin. We're going to help keep even more sun out of this thing. And as long as we're doing that, we are going to flip back to just a conventional white on the roof because it will help keep a ton of additional heat out of here. And you notice they did the same thing on the air conditioner covers themselves, and that's a big deal. If you keep the air conditioner units themselves cooler, then they have an easier job of pumping cooler air through the roof. Now, because the roof is white, the roof is also not baking in the sun, generating a bunch of extra heat. And at this point, I think you get the idea. Lighter, whiter, brighter also means cooler in the hot summer sun. So if you have a really hot sun destination in mind, or frankly, if you do plan to do full-time seasonal use or something like that and it's going to get pretty darn cold, this is a brand of camper that is suited to, work that way. It's one of the benefits of a Cougar. There's all kinds of different benefits to all kinds of different RVs out here. That's why we carry so many different things at Haylett RV. And that's why we do a little bit of everything, whether it's hitching pieces, parts, trades, finance, truck and trailer package deals, RV delivery, and everything between. So take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone. Oh, look at this neat little blast from the past. Right over there is the 366 Cougar that we're standing on right now. That is just the previous generation. So, I mean, it looked good, but this one also looks good and will stay a little bit cooler. Couldn't have planned that if I tried.